I'm Thomas Frank Carr for Blue White Illustrated, and these are the 5 Penn State offensive players that need to have a good game for Penn State to win the Rose Bowl. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to Blue White Illustrated on YouTube and you hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our Rose Bowl coverage.
Number 5.
We'll start at number 5, a player that has played very well all season and just needs to continue doing that. That would be tight end Brenton Strange. There's no doubt that Penn State will miss receiver Parker Washington, especially if Utah plays aggressively on defense. Penn State saw cover 0 increasingly throughout the season as the defensive pressure package became popular throughout football. For those that are unaware, cover 0 means there are no deep defenders in support if anything goes wrong on the play for the defense, and all players not in coverage are rushing the quarterback. Strange has more targets against this coverage than any other Nittany Lions receiver, and his presence may make Utah think twice about setting the house, which they did more than any other defense in America. His ability to play through contact and potentially make a big play with a broken tackle will be essential to Penn State's offensive chances in this scenario. Beyond that, his work in play action has helped quarterback Clifford get easy throws and yardage that help the offense maintain balance. In his final game as a collegiate football player, Strange will need to show he's the multi-dimensional threat that can run block and catch passes, as the NFL covets the H-back tight end.
Number 4.
Coming in at number 4, Keandre Lambert Smith. Lambert Smith struggled initially when filling in a new role in Parker Washington's absence. He only got 3 of his targets against Rutgers and was 0 of 2 in contested catch situations before bouncing back against Michigan State. In the season's final game, he tallied 5 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown while having a perfect passer rating when targeted. So is he the player that struggled against the physicality of the Rutgers secondary, or is he the player that was unleashed against Michigan State's zone coverage? The question for the Rose Bowl won't be how will he play, but also where will he play? At the end of the season, Mitchell Tinsley took over Parker Washington's role, and Lambert Smith filled in for Tinsley. So next year, Lambert Smith could find himself permanently replacing Tinsley as he did, or maybe he lines up for Washington on January 2nd. Number 3 and number 2 are a package deal, so we'll start at number 2 and work to number 3.
Number 2.
The second most important player for Penn State to have a victory on Monday is running back Nick Singleton. Weeks 1 through 7, Singleton either averaged over 10 yards per carry or under 4. He was the epitome of a boom or bust runner. When he struggled to find explosive plays, so did the offense. That inconsistency could sink the Nittany Lions against Utah. Starting with the game against Minnesota, however, Singleton averaged 5.7 yards per carry, and his average only dipped below 4 in one of those games. Utah has a very stingy run defense and a gap-sound front 7. While they don't have many weaknesses, in a loss to UCLA, the Utes showed a weakness to contain Bruins running back Zach Charbonnet on outside zone runs. Runs into space were a common theme for the team in 2022 and a thorn in the side of their run defense. In that aforementioned game against UCLA, the Bruins were able to kill the clock and leave Utah without time to respond. While Katron Allen will be a massive factor, Singleton's ability to turn a good play into a game-breaking one is singular and essential. He'll have to bring that consistency from the end of the season and pair it with his big playability in the Rose Bowl to give Penn State an advantage.
Number 3.
At number 3, the other half of the run game equation is quarterback Clifford. Yes, in the running game, not as a passer. While Penn State doesn't have to take the same approach that other teams that beat Utah used, drawing elements from those game plans is helpful. The Pac-12 is filled with athletic quarterbacks that are essential parts of their respective teams' run games. Clifford doesn't have to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Caleb Williams. He just needs to provide a legitimate threat to keep the ball and keep Utah's backside defenders honest on run plays. It's something that keen Penn State football fans were frustrated with, as Clifford was inconsistent in keeping the ball in the right situations throughout the 2022 season and handed the ball off maybe more than he should have. The senior quarterback carried 30 times for 255 yards this season, which is the lowest output of his career on the ground, but he was efficient for the most part in these situations. He grabbed 5 touchdowns and averaged nearly 5 yards per carry. The running backs need to be the star of the show, but a few successful runs could set the tone and make things easier for them and the offensive line. It can also make his job as a passer much easier.
Number 1.
Coming in at number 1, the most important player or players on the Penn State offense will line up at left tackle. Penn State is entering the Rose Bowl after playing the final month of the season without either of their starting offensive tackles. So are Olu Fashanu and Caden Wallace healthy and ready to play? If they are, it's a huge advantage for Penn State against Utah, especially if Fashanu can play. Utah had injury problems of their own down the stretch, losing multiple defensive ends and losing a bona fide 4-man pass rush. Without that, Utah switched things up and attacked, sending more cover 0 blitzes, as we talked about, stunts, and other defensive line games. Drew Shelton played well down the stretch, but this will be one of the best coached defensive fronts he's seen this season. If he's out there, he'll have to play the best game of his young career in order to keep Sean Clifford clean. To give you some perspective, Shelton didn't give up a sack in his 4 games starting at left tackle, but he did give up 3 quarterback hits. And despite not having a lead rusher, Utah was tied for 15th nationally with 38 sacks in 2022. That's 29 spots higher than the best pass rushing unit Shelton faced in Michigan State to end the season. While it might not be one player he's up against, he'll have to prove that he can hold up against a swarm of Utah pass rushers. If he can do that, Utah's defense can be exposed in these situations with zone-and-man concepts that take a little bit longer to develop. In some of their high-leverage games, Utah was not able to get to quarterback Bo Nix, who was able to throw for 284 yards and a touchdown. While Sean Clifford plays better without pressure anyway, like every quarterback, it may be doubly important in this game to expose some cracks in the defensive secondary. That'll do it. Those are the 5 players that Penn State needs to have play well in order to have a successful game against Utah. But what do you think? Which offensive player do you think needs to have a good Rose Bowl for Penn State to win the game? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and while you're at it, make sure you like the video. And while you're at that, subscribe to Blue White Illustrated on YouTube and hit the notification button so you don't miss any breaking news, live shows, or feature content from Blue White Illustrated. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. Have a happy new year.